Sex and politics have long gone hand in hand. New media has been both a curse and a blessing for politicians embroiled in sex scandals. It's now harder than ever to hide a sexual dalliance, and yet even easier than ever to make a quick comeback. Karina Huber has more.
At New York City's Museum of Sex, salacious Facebook messages between former New York Congressman Anthony Weiner and a Las Vegas blackjack dealer are on display. Communications like these are what brought the married politician down. Mark Snyder, director of exhibitions, says Weiner is included in the exhibit to illustrate the dramatic impact online sexual flirtations can have.
What we do can, in one click of a button, be shared with 100 million people. It's harder to keep something private.
Weiner is running for mayor of New York. Former New York Governor Eliot Spitzer, whose career took a nosedive after it was revealed he had hired prostitutes in 2008, is running for city comptroller. Does this mean generally conservative Americans are more willing to overlook a politician's sexual indiscretions? Not necessarily, says political consultant Michael Tobman. He says politicians still need to go through a process to regain the trust of American voters after a sex scandal, but that process has been sped up.
It used to be you would do a book tour, you would do a national tour, you would do a listening tour, you'd go on daytime television and then work your way up to the evening news, and it would take years, 6, 8, 10, 12 years. Now it's a matter of a couple of years.
That's because social networking sites, blogs, and the rapacious appetite of 24-hour news channels has given them many more outlets for their mea culpas. Tobman says politicians still have to follow a strict script if they want to make a comeback.
You have to ask for forgiveness. You have to explain why you believe it is time to return to public life, and there has to be an office to run for.
We'll find out soon enough whether this will be a recipe for success for Spitzer and Weiner. In the meantime, what's clear is that the advent of new media has made it easier for politicians embroiled in sex scandals to avoid being banished to irrelevance. Karina Huber, CCTV, New York.
And joining us now for more on the sex scandals that plague politicians is Steve Siebold. He is the author of Sex, Politics, Religion, How Delusional Thinking is Destroying America. Steve, thanks for joining us on our show.
Thanks, Elaine.
You know, talk to us about the differences in how countries and regions view these various political scandals, because Americans handle sex and politicians differently than, say, the Europeans and as well as those in Latin America and Asia.
Well, no question about it. America's a very puritanical nation. I mean, 40% of our population believes the Earth is 6,000 years old, when the truth is it's 4.5 billion years old. I mean, it's a completely different set of ideas here in America when a politician like Anthony Weiner, or Bill Clinton for that matter, goes off the rails, I think, as it is in almost any other country in the world.
Why is that?
Well, I think I love America, but we're a very emotionally immature country. We're a young country, we're a spoiled country, we're a rich country, we're powerful, and I think that that contributes a little bit to our point of view, our puritanical point of views. We really haven't grown up enough as much as we should have, and that impacts what happens in this country.
Well, let's turn across the pond to Dominique Strauss-Kahn of France and former Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi. Slightly different circumstances there, more than impropriety, because that's mixed in with criminal charges. Is there a blurred line, do you think, between morality and criminality?
Well, I think that the line is pretty clear, actually. I mean, these men obviously, broke the law, and they're suffering the consequences of that. Where Anthony Weiner, for example, wants to, it's a complete lack of judgment. Whether it's immoral or not, I don't know. I'm not a moral judge, but I don't really care about that. But I would look at his judgment when he wants to be mayor of the biggest city in America, the most powerful country in the world, and the biggest economy by far in the world, bigger than France and Italy put together. And that could impact millions of people and even billions of people around the world if a guy like this is making the decisions, or some of the decisions, in the biggest city in the most powerful, largest economy in the world.
Well, the one thing it seems that all these people, all these guys, all these former leaders have in common is that they think that they can come back. Can these politicians resurrect their careers more so than any other post-sex scandal? Let's look at Anthony Weiner. He's obviously trying to make a comeback now in New York City. Silvio Berlusconi tried to make a comeback in Italy. Does it really depend on the region or the circumstances surrounding their case?
Well, I think you have to look at the individual. These men are narcissists. I mean, they're any psychologist. I mean, it's Psychology 101 to say you can look at an Anthony Weiner, a guy who just got removed from Congress because of these indiscretions, and he apologizes, then he does it, then he runs for mayor and does it again. I mean, it's just this is a self-involved narcissist that believes he's above any kind of rules, social rules, and he can get away with it. And of course, he hasn't withdrawn from the race. He's still in the race, and it's just a classic case of narcissism. And again, he can take it up with his wife, as far as I'm concerned. I don't care about his sexting. What I care about is lack of judgment. Twice in the last 2 years. That scares me when he wants to be mayor of the most powerful city in America.
Well, and look, social media isn't making anything any easier, and still, you still hear about these various politicians continuing on with Twitter and Facebook.
Look at Bill Clinton. I mean, he committed an indiscretion, again, not something illegal, but he did lie to the country. And if he was able to run for president, you and I both know that he would be the president of the United States in 2016. Luckily, he can't, but he would be by popularity. And it shows the emotional immaturity of Americans. And it's a shame. We need to grow up in this country before we lose what we have.
All right, Steve Siebold, we appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us from Chicago.
Thank you.